All right, I gavel this meeting to order. I'm requesting members to take their seats. Is a quorum present? Quorum is present. Clerk will open the rolls and the members will ask to indicate their presence on the electronic voting system. Clerk will close the rolls. All right, again, I want to welcome everyone to the Ad Hoc Transportation Subcommittee meeting. If you look around, you probably see we got some pretty hot topics here. I do want to make sure that we manage expectations for how this meeting is going to go. We have 2 blocks of information to go through. That first block being many of our bills that deal with speed monitoring. Our second block will deal with towing. So if you're in the second block and you need to go to the restroom, go ahead and make it happen, Captain. We got a little bit of time before we get there. I'm going to try to be, again, I will choose, and I hope that we all choose to be respectful of the time. I imagine what will happen is for some of these bills, there will be a lot of you all that walk up to speak for them. I'm going to have a designated amount of time, about 3 minutes. And that's not to be unfair to anyone. That's just to know that we got a lot of people that support or don't support a bill and want to give them as much time as possible to get through, for us to get through the docket and get to your words. So I ask, if you are the first person that steps up to the podium, that you don't monopolize that time up against everyone else. So I want to remind you, I will remind each first person to look behind you and know that you are sharing, and I hope that you are caring by being on, being brief, and being off. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our docket. The first bill that we have up today is House Bill, did I lose my sheet? There we go. Sorry. House Bill 924, the patron being Delegate Srinivasan.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. There is an amendment in the nature of a substitute that comes at the request of the Secretary of Transportation and keeps the proposed bill.
One moment, Delegate. Can you explain the substitute before we adopt it?
Yeah, the proposed bill it keeps the proposed bill under 46.2 of Motor Vehicles Act instead of placing it under 59.1 of Trade and Commerce. I think the council may have more.
Okay. Because this is such a very new amendment, can council go ahead and summarize what that amendment does?
Yes, Madam Chair. This amendment keeps the language in Title 46.2 as it was originally drafted. There had been a prior version that had moved it to a different title. This also changes some of the disclosure requirements. It provides that takes away the requirement that the TNC or DNC notify where the pickup and drop off are before the DNC partner would have to accept the ride, and it provides that some of the data that's required to be provided be aggregated and provided on a weekly basis.
All right, so it has been moved and properly second to accept this substitute as given. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the substitute is adopted. Delegate Srinivasan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members of the subcommittee, HB 924 is a straightforward transparency and compliance measure that seeks to provide information to drivers that partner with transportation network companies or delivery network companies, such as Lyft, Grubhub, Uber. Currently, there is a lack of uniformity. I would say uniformity, and we will probably discuss that later. And transparency in the published reporting of the earnings share for a driver, also known as a partner, as compared to earnings of the network company for which they work with. The rising cost of living and expenses to operate, coupled with the declining compensation rates for gig drivers, compared to the increased earnings for these large corporations, demonstrate an urgent need for transparency measure. The bill before you, Madam Chairman, and the subcommittee, directs transportation and delivery network companies to provide each partner with a weekly report that includes the average fare collected, total hours worked, and the total amount earned by the partner, meaning the gig driver. Further, a delivery and transportation network company would have to post on their website an average fare collected, total hours worked, and percentage of earnings going to the drivers, partners for each market in which the company operates, obviously in our state. This would enable drivers to compare their weekly performance and percentage of earnings to that of an average driver within their market. HB 924 would also require network companies to disclose if they are using non-linear compensation system, as defined in the bill, to their partners, and details on the deactivation process to remove a partner driver from the service. It would not require them to disclose any proprietary information or algorithm used as part of any nonlinear compensation system, but would establish guidelines and safeguards to prevent any arbitrary deactivation. I would also close by saying that rig drivers play an important role in Virginia's economy. They provide an invaluable service. I have no doubt many of us in this room use them regularly. As the cost of everyday Virginians to use these services goes up, I think it's necessary to support the Virginians that provide these services. These amendments that we have carried recently reflect the changes due to concerns that we have heard from different stakeholders. But I would respectfully say that we haven't received any concrete proposals. I'll just close by saying this is about values. Several of the gig drivers are people of color, immigrants. At the heart of this is a transparency bill. Finally, Madam Chair, if I may, I'm an immigrant who came to Norfolk as a student in the early 90s. It's an American dream that today I'm a member of this august House. It's extremely humbling for me to present a proposal to help the gig workers of our state. This bill has the support of New Virginia Majority, SCIU, AFL-CIU, AFL-CIO. I would like to acknowledge and thank the sacrifice of several drivers who have taken to be here today and advocate for themselves and their fellow drivers. Thank you for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Delegate Srinivasan. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? And I'd ask you just to ping me because our iPad is not working. Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would ask the patron of the bill, you noted that there have been many comments and questions that have been posed to you as you have been working on this, and that the heart of your bill is to provide increased transparency, but have you had any engagement with those impacted partners, and have you been receptive to their amendments? Could you clarify?
I have met with several stakeholders. I've heard their concerns, and that is why the bill, the substitute that you see before today, is very different from what I had a couple of weeks ago. Many things have changed. Location has been taken out, cost has been taken out. We removed all that. We removed several requirements that we had in mind before. At the heart of this, I have even shared with some of the companies that represent these platform companies that we are looking for a simple percentage, that if I'm a driver here in Richmond, I'm driving regularly every day, on a weekly basis, if I can get a percentage split of what the split is between the company and me, and what on average other drivers make in this area, that will help me make correct choices about what I need to do, and it also help me to improve my performance. If I'm getting less than others, then I will say, okay, maybe I have to do better. Maybe I have to get better rating. I have to get better quality control. I have to show up on time. I have to be courteous. So this will help the ecosystem, in my opinion. I have not received any concrete proposals. I have received concerns, which I have addressed in all these amendments. And I'm willing to work with anybody during this process, with anyone.
Thank you, Delegate
Madam Chair.
Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarity for all of us here in the room, the substitute before us makes no reference to DNCs. Was that your intention to cut them out of this bill?
I've heard concerns about how DNCs are different. They deliver a product. It does make a reference, Madam Chair.
197? Oh, my apologies. Okay.
Madam Chair, I was going to say it does include DNCs, but I've heard concerns about DNCs being not apples to apples with TNCs because they transport a product versus people. Delegate Sewell, I don't know if
Delegate Sewell, do you have a follow-up?
May I make a friendly amendment?
Sure.
would you be amenable to a friendly amendment of cutting out DNCs, as you just noted that they operate under a different system than that of TNCs? So just for clarity in the language.
I would.
Okay.
Because I've heard the concern from one of their representatives, and I've been thinking about that too.
Okay.
And they are different,
Thank you.
apples and oranges. So,
So you consider that a friendly amendment?
yes, absolutely.
Thank you to the patron.
Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you, delegates.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor of the amendment, say aye. Or the committee operates by motion?
Move the amendment.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the amendment has been adopted. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Tram Nguyen with New Virginia Majority. We thank Delegate Srinivasan for carrying the bill on behalf of several drivers that you're about to hear from, and we are honored to be in partnership with our coalition partners at the Virginia AFL-CIO and SEIU Virginia 512.
Good afternoon. Honorable committee members. I'm Nupur Chowdhury, an ACE community organizer through NBM. And I have also been an Uber driver in the past 8 years. I would like you to support that HB 924, which is sponsored by the Delegate Srinivasan, Delegate Lopez, and Delegate Tran. When Uber first started doing business here in Virginia, so us drivers could see how much Uber was taking from each fare, and we are able to see how much is actually customer being charged. And this transparency helped us, drivers, see if we are compensated fairly for work and how much taking from each fare. Unfortunately, Uber has taken away that feature due to lack of transparency. And we have been seeing throughout the years that Uber has been taking the majority fare, any given fare. So I don't know how much is actually I will work with this time, and I also don't know how much time I need to work to make certain amount to make money. Uber is stealing income from riders and misleading consumers in Virginia. So many customers do not even know that is happening. So both workers and customers keep the economy functioning. We deserve to know the details of our work and each fare get fair pay. Please support HB 924 so Virginia's gig workers like me deserve to know if we are compensated fairly of our work. Thank you.
All right, and I would ask the rest of the folks behind him, because he took most of the time, to just state your name and whether you support and that you support the bill.
Yes, my name is Salim, and I really support the bill.
You can say your organization or who you're with as well.
Sorry? So basically, I'm an Uber and Lyft driver from the last 3 years, and I'm being really impacted by Uber and Lyft. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Marat, and I work for Uber for the past 10 years and also Lyft. And I'm also part of the organization ACE Collaboration. And I would love you guys to support our bill, and I'm supporting it myself. Thank you.
My name is Sanjeev Vashisht, and Mr. Srinivasan happened to be my delegate also. And that's the main reason we were here, and I'm an Uber and Lyft driver also.
All right, I'll give everyone else a
I
time.
support the bill.
Thank you so much. The rest of you, if you can just say your name, organization. Come on, I want to get you the opportunity. Say your name, organization. If you can do that very quickly.
My name is Aide Hoya, and I'm a full-time Uber driver. Been driving for Uber since the year 2019, and I'm asking you please support our bill and to make a difference in every driver that works for Uber and Lyft.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sheikh. I have been driving with Uber and Lyft since 2014. I am an Arlington resident. I am humbly requesting, please help us and support our bill HB 924.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the bill?
Morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. David Skiles with the Vector Corporation representing Uber Technologies. So I'm flying a little blind here because there's been a number of substitutes floating around, but I'm working off of the one that was produced this morning since I understand that the language is substantively the same. There's a couple things that with this legislation that have caused us some concern. Certainly, we greatly respect what the patron is trying to do in terms of sharing information, especially that of with our partners. So first and foremost, for drivers that operate on Uber's platform as a TNC, they receive an email at the end of the week with their total gross earnings and how much the take rate between the company and the drivers. So that information is already shared with the TNC partner. And there's a few issues with the definitions in this bill. Obviously, if you look at line 33, the term nonlinear compensation system, that term, one, is vague. Secondly, it talks about a form other than a per mile, per minute, or per trip pay system. As you all know, since I'm sure you use Uber when you drive home, you come home from a bar late at night, it is a dynamically priced system, and so those numbers fluctuate. In addition to that, and I think perhaps most important, this legislation in many ways contradicts the TNC statute that's currently on the books with respect to information sharing. And I'll just point out a few things. If you were to look to 46.2, 2099.53, record keeping for transportation network companies, you would see that statute already requires the disclosure of certain pieces of information, such as the method to calculate fares and applicable rates, as well as the partner screening criteria, which we assume the patron is trying to get at in the language with respect to deactivation process. In addition to that, Uber already publishes on its website the terms and conditions with respect to deactivation of our partners. Madam Chair, we have in Virginia have had a really best-in-the-nation TNC statute since its passage in 2014, and we have come back to tweak that from time to time. We've had an excellent relationship with our regulator through the Department of Motor Vehicles, and as we have expressed to the patron several times, we are very interested in working with him over the interim to address the concerns about transparency. We certainly feel that the way in which we engage with our drivers does that, and the existing statute already requires much of the disclosure necessary. So, Madam Chair, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but appreciate your time.
All right, so no questions. What we'll do is we'll go to our online testimony, and I believe we have Ms. Durkin speaking against the bill.
Good evening, Chair Glass and members of the committee. My name is Margaret Durkin, and I serve as the Mid-Atlantic Executive Director for TechNet. TechNet is a technology trade association, and we believe that policy should protect innovation and not be overly burdensome while also recognizing the unique nature of the sharing economy. House Bill 924 and its substitutes are problematic for a variety of reasons. As per a substitute that I saw this morning, requiring TNCs and DNCs to publish weekly reports on fares, hours, and earnings is anti-competitive with the potential to stifle innovation. Aside from that, weekly reporting is an administrative burden. And compensation structures are complex and unique to companies. And we believe that the free market economy should be the driving force behind wages and allow people to make choices for who they choose to do gig work for. And for reasons stated previously as well, TechNet is opposed to House Bill 924. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gerken. And I'd just like to acknowledge the written comments that we had. You had 3 comments written in support of the bill. So Sellers from Powhatan, O'Neill from Richmond, and Gates from Richmond City. We'll give you the last word, Mr. Srinivasan, if there are no further comments or questions from the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. In closing, I just want to make a humble request. Let's be clear on the issue at hand. This is about values, and my humble request to the subcommittee is let's not be afraid of taking a clear stand on transparency. I will repeat again, I'm willing to work with any stakeholder to make improvements so that we all get there together. This is about transparency. This is about values first. This is about transparency, which will drive fairness and equity. Thank you again. Thanks for everyone.
The committee operates by motion.
I would like to thank the patron for being receptive to my amendment, so therefore I move to report.
Second.
It has been with the substitute.
Substitute and amendment.
Yes, with the substitute and amendment.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
It has been moved and properly second as substituted. Will the clerk will open the rolls? The clerk will, yeah. The clerk will close the rolls. It looks like House Bill 924 reports on a vote of 4-3. Thank you, Delegate Srinivasan.
Thank you.
The next bill we have up on our docket is House Bill 1362, Delegate Maldonado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, committee members. HB 1362 before you, I'm hoping is a simple bill that helps close the loophole to something that we set forth as law many years ago. Some of you may recall that in 2022, Senator Reeves and Delegate Bell passed a bill banning Virginia State Police and local police departments and sheriffs from setting quotas. With respect to red light speeding, going through stop signs. So in the world of photo enforcement, quotas are expressly banned in the code for both red light cameras and speed cameras. School bus cameras are the last remaining vestige where quotas are permitted. The overall purpose of the statute is to protect the safety of children as they enter and exit a school bus. And in doing so, studies have shown camera systems cause the number of illegal passes to drop year after year. And so in this bill, we are looking to do a couple of things. And first, there is an amendment. So I want to move the amendment.
Is the amendment online? Okay.
Should be. I have a printout.
Right. Can you explain the amendment before we move it?
I'm sorry?
Can you explain the amendment?
The amendment, absolutely. Yes, Madam Chair. The amendment on line 73 strikes the language after the word no through the end and replaces it with, so that it would read, no contract entered into pursuant to this subsection shall require a minimum quota of violations captured or citations issued in order for the video monitoring system to be deployed.
Committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair, move to report.
The amendments. Move the amendments. It has been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Right, the amendments have been moved. Do you have any more testimony with your bill? Or that you did a great job already. You did a fine job. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in support of the bill?
Madam Chair, Elizabeth Parker with Troutman Pepper on behalf of Bus Patrol. We are one of the school bus camera vendors. We reviewed Delegate Maldonado's bill, and we are in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the bill? Okay. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, online, I believe we have Ms. Tara Fitzpatrick. Ms. Fitzpatrick, you have the floor. You have about a minute to testify.
Yes, I actually did not have an opinion on this particular bill. Apologies.
Are you signed up for another bill, Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Which bill is that?
Speed cameras.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Speed monitoring. Thank you.
All right, then the committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move the report with substitutes. Amendments, excuse me.
Second. Second, it has been moved and properly second to report House Bill 1362. The clerk will open the rolls. With amendments. Hold on. The clerk will close the rolls. It looks like your bill reports on a vote of 7-0. Thank you, Delegate Maldonado.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
All right. The next bill we have on the docket, and do I see her, House Bill 180. House Bill 180, we'll take an administrative action on House Bill 180. We'd like to pass this one by for the day. If I hear your motion.
So moved. Second.
All right, it has been moved and properly second to pass House Bill 180 by for the day. Will the clerk open the roll so that we can voice vote? I was just checking to make sure this is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion passes by voice vote. All right, so then what we'll do is go ahead and take up House Bill, House Bill 461. We'll take that same action. House Bill 461 was It's been moved. It's second. All right. It has been moved and properly second to pass by House Bill 461. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Motion carries. The next bill we will hear is House Bill. One moment. All right, so the next bills is probably what you all have been waiting for, and so we're going to do something a little unorthodox how we do this. We've got about 4 bills that deal with speed cameras. Okay, am I doing this right? Yep. So we have 4 bills that deal with speed cameras. What we're going to do, because they are very comparable to each other, we will incorporate the bills that are pretty much alike. We will give the patrons the opportunity to provide testimony. So if you have come to speak about a speed camera, that will be your opportunity on all of those bills all at once. Okay? And I'll give a reminder to the room of that. So I would entertain a motion to incorporate House Bill 521, 533, and 901 into House Bill 20.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
That's a voice vote. Voice vote. That's a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Madam Chair, they get a 905.
Did I say 905? 905. My apologies. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. So it is House Bill 521, House Bill 533, and House Bill 905 into House Bill 20 have been incorporated. What we'll do is we'll allow the patron of House Bill 20, Delegate Jones, if you come up giving your testimony, and then thereafter, the other patrons thereafter.
Madam Clerk, just point of order, or I'm sorry, Madam Chair, what about House Bill 21? Is that being rolled in as well?
That is on a different subject matter.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of this committee. I'd like to move the amendment. There are 3 amendments that are comprised, or substitute, yeah.
Amendments.
It has been seconded and moved and properly seconded to move the substitute as it is. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. You have the floor.
Thank you, thank you. I want to introduce HB 20. In Richmond City, between 2017 and 2023, 43 people have died from speed-related crashes, and just under 3,000 people suffered injuries from speed-related cameras. HB 20 allows localities, upon their choice, to place automated speed enforcement systems in high-risk pedestrian areas with speed limits under 45 miles per hour and under, as determined by VDOT's data-driven pedestrian safety action plan. The initiative aims to prevent deaths and injuries by promoting safe driving habits and protecting commuters and pedestrians. The current code only allows for speed enforcement systems to be placed in school crossing zones or construction work zones, leaving many high-risk pedestrian areas vulnerable and unprotected. This initiative is not designed to serve as a revenue trap, as all funds by this legislation that are in excess of operating costs will be allocated to the Virginia Highway Safety Improvement Program, ensuring that localities cannot make a profit from automated speed enforcement. Pedestrian and bike crashes occur nearly at the same rate as fatal opioid overdoses and firearm-related injuries, Madam Chair, making pedestrian safety an equity issue. Black and Hispanic populations have the highest rate of emergency room visits and deaths due to pedestrian crashes, and the elderly are highly susceptible to injury and fatality in high-risk areas. By allowing the placement of these speed cameras, we hope that we are able to see the same type of decrease in accidents as are seen in other areas where they've reported a 92% drop in fatalities and in accidents. What I'd like to do, Madam Chair, if it pleases the committee, to allow a subject matter expert. Bobby Vincent is the Director of Public Works for the City of Richmond, and he has an extensive background in that, and I would ask that he would come and utilize my time.
Mr. Brinson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Delegate Jones. Thank you, committee. Bobby Vincent, Director of Public Works for the City of Richmond. I love my city, I love my state, I love my country. But we do have a problem with regards to people speeding in it right now. And they're speeding within our high-density areas of our localities. The high injury network makes up about 75 miles in the City of Richmond, which comprises of about 9% of the streets within the City of Richmond. However, out of our KA accidents, meaning individuals that were seriously injured or killed, 75% of those types of accidents occurred on our high injury network. We need help with regards to getting people to slow down on our high injury networks throughout our localities, and the camera system is one of the best ways to do it. The camera system can certainly help us with regards to doing things that make sense on the high injury network, and not just putting cameras anywhere within the city, but putting them on the high injury network. In addition to that, we cannot infrastructure our way out of people speeding throughout our city. We've installed hundreds of speed tables. We've installed hundreds of bump outs. People still find it upon themselves to speed at night or speed during the daytime when there's lower traffic conditions. So one of the most equitable ways that we see fit with regards to cameras going up throughout our high density areas is in this particular fashion. So at this point in time, I'd like to use the rest of my time. If you have any questions or comments from me, I'm certainly here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the bills? That is House Bill 20-905, 521, and 533. Am I doing that? Okay, so before you start, that's all. It's all right. I want you to look at the person in front of you. If you don't get a chance to talk,
I'll be really fast.
It is their fault. So we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock for the totality of the group. And ma'am, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Kristen Petway. I'm with Drive Smart Virginia, a traffic safety nonprofit. We support the bill. Last year, 49% of fatal crashes in Virginia involved speeding. 49%. 440 people died because someone chose to drive too fast. It's a preventable crash. These cameras have proven in other areas and studies to help with people's driving behavior, so we support it.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I almost said good evening, but thank you so much for your work. My name is Dave Snyder, Falls Church City Council, former mayor. I'm also a licensed emergency medical technician. The issue of speeding is one of the most significant public safety issues of my constituents, and I think the constituents all across Virginia. This has been a long week for everyone, but this is an opportunity to end it with something critically important for the safety of all Virginians. Just two quick statistics. At only 39 miles per hour, if you're hit by a car going 39 miles per hour, you run the risk of a 75% serious injury. And only at 42 miles per hour, you have a 50% chance of being killed. Thank you for the opportunity to support this critical legislation.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Yasmin Bathir, and I do support this bill. We lost my 16-year-old granddaughter, Aja Rosamond, due to a speed-related crash that could have been prevented had there been cameras as a deterrent for people coming around that bend. So we do support it, and we thank you for thinking about that, considering it.
Madam Chair, Council people, my name is Mike Doyle. I'm the founder of the Northern Virginia Families for Safe Streets. We're a pedestrian-focused group. I'm a crash survivor. A driver crashed into me at about 15 or 20 miles an hour. Took me 3 years of neurological rehab to recover from that. The speed cameras can slow drivers down. That's what this is about. And using the VDOT data gives a very fair, objective way of stopping the killing. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Patrick Cushing on behalf of AAA. We are a motorist advocacy organization. In addition to all the towing work that we do, we support the bill. I think the key elements, and I've talked to Delegate Jones about this, and glad the patrons introduced this, the key elements are protecting revenue to ensure that we don't have a situation where localities are generating excess revenue, and also making sure these decisions on where to put cameras are data-driven, which they appear to be from the substitute, so we support it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Brantley Tyndall, Virginia Bicycling Federation. A personal story myself. When I was in high school, my mom was hit by a driver, stopped at a stop light, 25-mile-an-hour zone. The driver was going 40. She's permanently disabled and has been immobile for 20 years. And I just want to say that this is a tool that is used with infrastructure. It's not either or. We really should be considering both as effective speed management tools, and I appreciate your support. Thanks.
And I'd ask everyone else, I realize this is a larger than a larger amount of people. If you can just, again, be on, be brief, and be off. We want to hear what you have to say.
Good evening. My name is Mitchell Smiley. I'm with the Virginia Municipal League. We support the bill.
Good afternoon. David Blunt on behalf of the localities in the Thomas Jefferson Planning District region, and we're in support of House Bill 521.
Good evening, James Hutzer, Virginia Association of Counties. We support HB 521.
Noel Dominguez, Fairfax County, and we support the bill. And we thank Delegate Siebold for working on some implementation issues we had. Thank you.
Wyatt Gordon, Virginia Conservation Network. We support the bill. Thank you.
Alana Crennan with Arlington County, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Okay. We'll take testimony online. Okay, so we've got a lot of folks to testify online, so I'm asking the folks in the room to bear with us. We will start with Mr. Sean Newman. And Mr. Newman, I'd ask the folks online, we've got a very long list, almost as many as folks as we have in person. If you each could take about 30 seconds and state your case and whether you support your organization or whether you're support or you're against the bill.
Hey, good evening. My name is Sean Newman. I'm with Fairfax Alliance for Better Bicycling. I'm standing in front of one of the first instantiations of automated speed enforcement here in Virginia, here in Fairfax County at my kids' school. And I know that it has reduced speeds and it will help to save lives if implemented across the state. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. B. Lapisco-Kirtley. Did I say that right? You're on mute. There you go.
Lapisco-Kirtley, that's correct. Close enough. Madam Delegate Glass and members of the committee, thank you very much. I am in support on behalf of the County of Albemarle to support HB 521. For speeders along scenic byways and secondary roads. Just in the last few years, we've had 4 fatalities on just 2 roads in my area. 4 fatalities and 319 crashes. A photo speed camera will save lives, and we are asking for your support. It also makes our police officers safer, who cannot safely pull over speeders because you have no on the rural roads, you have no space to do that. So we ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. B. And I don't know if it's a Mr. or Mr. Scott, and I want to thank you for your online comments because you gave certainly a lot. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. Can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you so much. I thank this committee to allow virtual testimony to speak to support photo enforcement camera bills to pass into law to help save lives and reduce injury from speeders. I support all 4 of the speed ticket cameras bills being reviewed today. I'm a registered operating room nurse who has seen the damage done to the human body from vehicle crashes that often involve speeding. Photo enforcement type cameras have been used by DMV and VDOT on I-66 and other toll roads, HOV lanes, and express lanes in Virginia for many previous years to collect tolls and issue fines, and are not an invasion of privacy. Police will always be involved and review all citations before they are sent out in the mail, so police are still very involved, just as if they wrote the citation themselves. Any amount of revenue generated from a photo enforcement camera is testimony of how bad the speeding problem is in an area that police are not addressing properly due to lack of police manpower, and is reflected by the rise in road vehicle fatalities in recent years. I represent Fauquier County as a 23-year citizen. I've been collecting data from the Sheriff's Department, and our fatalities have risen as high as 21, and then recently in past years 13, and are now hovering around 11. We need these photo enforcement cameras to help our police.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. We appreciate you. I know you're passionate about it.
Thank
Ms. Fitzpatrick, if you could be very brief.
I will. My name is Tara Fitzpatrick. I'm the Richmond City Safe Routes to School Coordinator. Our program serves Richmond Public Schools. Our organization is Greater Richmond Fit for Kids. We support all of these speed camera bills. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Barnes.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for hearing me. I'm here in support of all of the speeding and traffic camera bills. I've 14 years active duty, and I've literally come back to watch my wife nearly get hit 3 times by speeders and red light runners. 3 cars left the roadway in my neighborhood. 1 landed in a living room. I didn't serve 14 years in the military for this. Let's put some controls on our roadways again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes. Mr. John, I don't want to mess up your last name, but Mr. John Elsroth. You're on mute, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I enthusiastically support these speed camera bills. I think that they will be very effective in my neighborhood. We desperately need them because we have the roads are engineered for much higher speeds. Many motorists take advantage of this and don't pay any attention to the actual posted speed limit, despite the fact these roads run through neighborhoods, past elementary schools, junior high schools, high schools. Please pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chris French.
Hi, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Chris French. I'm with Fairfax Families for Safe Streets. I have lots to say, but in the interest of brevity, I would just like to call the committee members to the Fairfax County Health Department's recent report titled Pedestrian Safety Isn't Just a Transportation Problem, which states, and I quote, Black and Hispanic populations have the highest rates of emergency room visits and deaths due to pedestrian crashes, end quote. And the report states specifically that Black and Hispanic population experience ER visits and fatalities from pedestrian crashes at rates 2 to 3 times higher than the white population of Fairfax County. These communities really need your help, but all road users will benefit. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Miss Andrea Falkenhagen.
Hi, thanks. I live in Vienna in a neighborhood that would be directly impacted by House Bill 533. The road I live along, Blake Lane, is among the top 5% of the most dangerous roads, according to VSAP data. It's a 35 zone, but we regularly see people going up to 60 miles an hour. And parents like me are really afraid to even let our kids walk along the road. In 2022, our community came together after a horrific crash in which a man driving 81 miles an hour hit three girls coming home from high school, killing two of them. They're just 15 years old. And this happened at school dismissal. So every kid in our area knew about it, and it really shook the community. So I belong to a task force that was created after that crash. And in every single meeting, people are asking why we can't have speed cameras. It's a really obvious solution with a lot of public support in my neighborhood. And we're told it's not an option because of current state law. So I would just really encourage everyone to support legislation that would fix that and allow communities to put data-driven, proven tools in the hands of local communities.
Thank you, Ms. Falkenhagen. Ms. Diem or Bazari, I hope I said this.
Hi, Behim Bazadi from the city of Alexandria. The passing of all these four speeding camera bills is very personal to me. Yeah, I mean, they could have saved lives of the life of my father and the life of many other pedestrians and bicyclists in our city. My parents were crashed into by a reckless driver on Stevenson Avenue in 2017 while they were legally in the pedestrian crossing with the right-of-way. But the driver's speed could not be determined in the absence of ASE in our residential street, but we knew he was speeding by the number of broken bones of my parents and by the severity of their injuries. If speed cameras had been installed on this street, that driver would probably have slowed down, giving my parents time to just exit the crosswalk, and he could have saved my father's life. We were robbed of my dear father being with us since 2017, and the pain hurts every day.
All right, Ms.
On the other hand,
I appreciate you. I'm going to have to cut you off. I thank you, and I appreciate you sharing.
So I strongly support.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think we have Sarah.
Hi. This is Sarah Al-Hashimi, and I live in Alexandria, Virginia. This is very personal to me that you passed this bill. In 2016, I was run over. It was a hit and run. I was seriously injured. The driver was never held accountable. One of two things would have happened. Had there been a speed camera, we would have been able to hold this person to account, or at least they would have been deterred and I wouldn't have had to suffer the trauma that I did. So please pass this. It's needed. Please do it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Lastly, Ms. Kathleen Porter. Jillian Burgess.
Thank you. Jillian Burgess from Safe Streets Are For Everyone, thank you. And the leader of the bike bus to Escuela Key Elementary in Arlington, Virginia. This is from this morning. We strongly support this bill and ask you to pass it and allow localities to use more automated speed enforcement to keep these wonderful kids and everybody using our roadways safe. Thank you so much for your time and your service.
Thank you very much. And so on top of Delegate Jones, we'll hear some testimony from the patrons who have overlapped their bills, incorporated their bills. If Delegate Siebold would come up first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to everybody who testified today. I appreciate the members of the committee and your time as well. This bill is personal to my district. You heard from one of the folks testifying that we lost two beautiful high school girls last year, and one of the girls is severe, and the third is still severely injured in an accident by another driver who was going 80 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. We need to make sure that we incentivize drivers to slow down in high-risk pedestrian zones. It's important that we protect our communities and save lives. Just a few more statistics. There is an incredible rise over the last decade. Pedestrian deaths have increased by 77%. In Hampton Roads alone, pedestrian deaths have risen by 38%. And in Northern Virginia, we've seen a dramatic 50% increase in pedestrian deaths in 2022, just compared to 2021. I worked pretty closely with Delegate Jones on the current legislation you have in front of you, and I'm excited that we're able to incorporate the rest of the legislation as well today. Just to quickly reinforce what is in HB 20, it's data-driven, and it will allow localities to place automated speed enforcement systems in high-risk pedestrian areas with speed limits under 45 miles per hour. And that's determined by VDOT's Data-Driven Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, which we also know as PSAP. And I just wanted to quickly show you, it's on the screen if IT won't mind. Madam Chair, if you don't mind us putting it on the screen, would that be okay with you?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what you've heard a little bit about today, which is the PSAP. This current code allows for these systems to be placed in school crossing zones, or right now it's allowed to be in school crossing zones and construction work zones, but this bill will expand it to high-risk pedestrian areas that are vulnerable and unprotected. As you see, this is Richmond right here, which anything in red is a high-speed area. So we're surrounded, as you see, by very dangerous streets. This bill will also require, I want to mention that, I'm not sure if Delegate Jones did, that it will be two signs. The two signs are required to be placed within 1,000 feet of any of the systems that are installed, so that the drivers are very well of the presence of speed cameras. It will not authorize revenue traps. Instead, the bill directs all net revenue from the systems to be allocated to the Virginia Highway Safety Improvement Program, and this will fund initiatives to address hazardous road conditions and decrease casualties and injuries. I thank you all for your consideration. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Delegate Loeffler.
Thank you so much. I had proposed House Bill 521, which was really about rural roads. So incorporating, and by the way, I really appreciate all of the discussion here. I would just like to add that there are areas where they're not pedestrian heavy or urban, but actually rural areas that are narrow roads with no shoulder. So we had called them locality designated highway segments. And I'm hoping that we can incorporate this language, because as my Board of Supervisor, B. Lepisto, mentioned, we had 4 fatalities, almost 320 crashes. We all see the aggressive driving. So I'm hoping that within this framework, we can also include the rural areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just want to take my privilege as chair for a second to acknowledge Sarah, Asha's grandmother, Mike, Brantley, Dr. Barnes, Ms. Folkenhagen, and Ms. Basadi. We don't take it lightly when you share your trauma in our testimony, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for sharing your lived experience with us on a very critical issue here. If there are there any further questions from the committee? Oh, my apologies. We do have to do opposition. We did have 62 comments online, so I just want to acknowledge those folks who wrote in. There was a very robust amount of opinions, most in support of this legislation. So I'd ask now, is there anyone in opposition to the bill? Thank you. Seeing none, I would ask, are there any questions or comments from the committee? Okay. Delegate Griffin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo your comments about how thankful we are that some people came forward and talked about their personal experiences. I mean, the traffic deaths are just unbelievable when you think about those statistics. I want to just briefly mention from a constitutional perspective how I view these cameras. When we're talking about the government putting up cameras and taking pictures of the property of citizens, I think it gets into more of a search and seizure type situation. And I think we need to, for a second, address, I think, how the courts are going to look at this from a constitutional perspective. When the government takes action that restricts the liberty of citizens or takes pictures of their property, which would be what we're dealing with here, the courts are usually going to say, okay, let's scrutinize this. And what kind of scrutiny do we approach this with when government is taking this kind of action against its citizens, which is essentially what it's doing. It's not that they're not doing it for a good reason, right? They're doing it for a good and positive reason to keep everybody safe. But the courts are going to ask, is this the least restrictive means that we can accomplish the goals? And in my mind, when I view this, I think there's a lot of things that we can still do before we start surveilling our own citizens. And I want to thank Delegate Jones. I'm a big fan of Delegate Jones, and I appreciate him bringing this. But the reality is that I think that there's less restrictive means that we can accomplish these goals. That's why I've put in for huge bonuses and more money for our law enforcement, because if we support our law enforcement, I think they can achieve the same means, and they can do it in a constitutional way. So with that, I thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the committee?
I'd like to address my colleagues.
Delegate Jones, you can have the last word.
One, we know that so many localities in their authorized force, they are so far below. In Richmond, we are 170 officers below authorized force. It's going to take us 10 years. So we can put as much money out there that we want, and it would just take that amount of time to get those many officers to and through training and out on the streets. One. Secondly, we know that the most dangerous time for many officers is domestic calls and stops. For me, just in being president of Richmond City Council, I know my officers are better served out fighting crime rather than just stopping people for speeding. Because if there's another way that we can use technology to get to that we already have. We already use, we just saw something tonight on bus videos. We already have in school zones and in construction zones. We just want to take this technology to the place where it will continue to make the impact that it has. I want to do one thing just in closing, Madam Chair, and thank my colleagues for working together. We really had a great collegial effort in making sure that we got to this point. No one was trying to guard information, but I really appreciate their professionalism in doing that. And then I need to truly just commend Delegate Carr. Aja Roseman, who died in her 69th House District and my 9th District, she was a part of the memorial and just recognizing that no child should lose their life walking to and from the store. So Delegate Carr, I just want to thank you for your leadership and compassion in that area, and even looking to carry other bills from the city to ensure that we're safe. We know that if we put up cameras, the studies show, the numbers show, we will reduce accidents. And last piece, and that's a bad thing for a preacher and a politician
Wrap it up, preacher, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Is this one fact. And I appreciate Delegate Seabold showing you the north side of Richmond. Just about all of the main roads in South Richmond are high injury, they're red. It is not safe to bike and walk in South Richmond, and to cover less than a quarter mile to add sidewalks and high-use walkways, pathways, whatever Bobby Vincent calls them, it's roughly $20 million. The city doesn't have that to put towards that, but we can put up cameras and stop people from dying simply by walking and biking. Madam Chair, thank you for how you've handled such a sensitive topic tonight. Truly appreciate that. And members of the committee, thank you for your time in hearing us.
Gratitude. So what I will, again, use my privilege as the chair on this of the subcommittee here is I am going to express gratitude to all four of the patrons and the hard work and sort of hustle and bustle that has happened over the past couple days. It has been a jaunt. We had come to the conclusion that we tried to do this 4 different ways. We had 4 really different methods, 4 different lenses, 4 different communities. And I know that there's a lot more work to be done so that when we do this and when we do enact legislation, that we do it from a place of truth, knowledge with the stakeholders at the table. I expect that the 4 patrons will be leaders on this issue in the coming year because it doesn't live or die here. with that, I'm going to entertain a motion, and I know that there's a commitment from the patrons on this because we've had this conversation to carry this over so that we all can have a more robust conversation about how we execute this because we don't want to piecemeal this legislation, right? Each of your bill could have killed the other on one way or another. We make the commitment to the folks in these rooms, our local pedestrian and bike safety commissions, as well as our state commission, to work on this so that we can bring something back that addresses the rural community, addresses urban areas, and addresses the true need here. And I think the patrons have committed to that. With that, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, as you have so articulated, I'd like to move to continue this bill so the wonderful work that has begun, we can finish it and have a wonderful product next year.
It has been moved and with the subcommittee, just continue. Okay. Thank you. So it has been moved and properly second to continue House Bill 20 to 2025. That is a voice vote. Is that recorded? Voice vote. We're getting it, right? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Again, the deepest gratitude, as I think we all live in communities that face this issue, to the patrons. What we will do is move on to House Bill 1072. Delegate Carr, do you want to present here or at the podium?
Well, what's your preference,
It is your
Chair?
preference, ma'am.
Madam Chair, if I may, did the bill HB 21 get conformed in the Delegate Carr's bill? Thank you.
Would you have a preference, Madam Chair?
Delegate Carr, it is wherever you would like to do it, so you can, from your seat or at the podium.
Just a matter of expediency, maybe I
Yes,
will
ma'am.
just stay here. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I would like to move the amendments which clarify the issues of cost for establishment of school zones by institutions of higher ed. In addition, I would like to incorporate HB 21, Delegate Jones.
So it has been moved and properly second to approve the substitute for House Bill 1042. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All right, Delegate Carr. Okay, there we go. I'd also entertain a motion to incorporate House Bill 21 into House Bill 1072.
Second.
It is, all those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay, Delegate Carr.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Virginia's school crossing zone and photo speed monitoring device law has been extremely helpful in minimizing vehicular and pedestrian incidences. HB 1072 simply expands the definition of school crossing zone to pick up those areas around institutions of higher education and gives said institutions the opportunity to decline posted school crossing zones or to set hours for the use of portable, blinking, tilt-over, or other such signage. An example of where this would be helpful and why this is a priority for the city of Richmond is the two recent traffic fatalities near VCU campus. Many of you may have known Sean Soares, who was a former aide to Governor Northam and an advocate for conservation and as well as pedestrian safety. He was the victim of one of these tragedies. This legislation would help mitigate the rampant speeding through VCU's urban campus where these fatalities took place. Hope the subcommittee will look favorably upon this legislation.
All right, are there any questions from the subcommittee? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Mark Hickman on behalf of Virginia Commonwealth University. We support the bill and we thank Delegate Carr, Delegate Jones, and the City of Richmond. Thank you.
Bobby Vincent, Director of Public Works for the City of Richmond. We certainly support this bill and Delegate Carr. Thank you.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Okay. Hearing none, recognizing that this bill is still files in that family of speed cameras, I would entertain a motion.
Move to report. We'll lay on the table. Okay. I move that we lay this bill on the table very gently.
It has been moved and properly second to lay this bill on the table, although, will the clerk open the roll so the member can indicate their vote on the voting record? All right, that completes our first block. We are shifting into block 2. And we'll take care of the administrative, well, actually, we'll go straight into the bills that we have. First up, we have House Bill 925, Delegate Shin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members. I've gotten House Bill 925 before you, and I believe there might be a substitute that's been prepared.
Can you explain the substitute?
Yes, the substitute is, well, I think I could just explain all of it together if that's okay with you.
Can we have counsel explain the substitute before we move them for members accepting?
Yes, Madam Chair. The substitute is very similar to the introduced bill. It does change the responsibilities from the landlord to the towing operator for posting the beginning notice, and then loops the landlord in with needing to transmit that notice to the resident. It also provides a definition of towing operator. And those are the main differences between the introduced and the substitute.
Thank you, counsel. I'd entertain a motion. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Delegate Shin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a situation, this bill is the product of a situation that was brought to me by constituents in my district where their cars had an expired sticker on their license tags, and then they woke up one morning to find their car not in the spot anymore because it had been towed, and they had no idea that they were even susceptible to that. And so this bill hopefully is really easy and simple in that we're asking for 48 hours of notice be given to the vehicle before you're going to take it off the lot. The substitute for this bill, as counsel explained, it sort of shifts the responsibility and the onus of who's providing the notice from previously being the landlord to now being the towing operator. So towing operator has to give 48 hours notice to the vehicle, and then we'll also transmit notice to the landlord to say, hey, there's a vehicle on your property that has an expired tag or an expired inspection, and in 48 hours, if it continues to remain there, we're going to take it off the lot. We lowered the civil penalty from $250 to $100, and we also ensure that residents can recover the cost of towing because it can be upwards of $180 to have your vehicle taken off the lot. And more than anything, I hope that this will be seen as a consumer protection measure where we can make sure that people who are unknowingly and unwittingly just having their cars taken off their home property and waking up in the morning with no car and no way to get to work or to go about their business, which is obviously incredibly debilitating to figure out transportation to get to their vehicle, to pay the money to get the car out of the lot, and then to figure out how to deal with that afterwards, I think is lots of different things here. But I also should mention that I worked with AOBA closely in figuring out this amendment and the substitute, and though they're not here today, they did expressly permit me to say that they would have stood here in support of this bill if they were. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the subcommittee? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the bill? In opposition?
Neutral. Matt Benka, I represent the Northern Virginia Towers Association as well as the Richmond Towers Association. We do have some concerns with the bill, but we've met with BISHMA, and if the good delegate is willing to continue to work with us during the process, I think we might be able to make it a little bit easier for all the parties involved. That's my only comment. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah.
All right. Any further questions from the subcommittee? Hearing none, the committee operates by motion.
I'd like to make a motion to report with substitute.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded to report House Bill 925. The clerk will open the rolls. The clerk will close the roll, and House Bill 925 reports with the substitute on a vote of 5-3.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
Next up, we have House Bill 959, Delegate Lopez.
Good evening, members of the committee and Madam Chair. I have a substitute that I'd love the council to report.
As soon as my system comes back up, I will post it. So I apologize. Oh, there we go. Yes, and Madam Chair, the substitute should now be posted online. The substitute provides that language that would allow locality to, by ordinance, regulate monitoring practices used by towing and recovery operators. It removes certain language specific to Planning District 8 and Planning District 16 regarding written authorization prior to a trespass tow, and it provides penalties, removes the specific penalties of $150 per violation in Planning District 8, and provides that it would be 10 times the amount charged by the towing and recovery operator, and that it would be paid to the victim of the unlawful tow rather than the literary fund.
It's a pretty hefty substitute. The committee operates by motion. We'll move the substitute.
I move the committee substitute.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Delegate Lopez.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair. There's one issue that seems to unite residents of Northern Virginia across party lines more than any other: the intense level of frustration about predatory towing. The situation's gotten so bad that one tow company was sued a few years ago by the Attorney General for aggressive practices. The AG's office argued that vehicles had been towed unsafely and at times even towed without the proper legal authority. Within the last year, other areas have also seen an uptick in unlawful tows, and unfortunately, things have only gotten worse, or they definitely haven't gotten better. Tow truck drivers didn't have a proper state registration and targeted delivery vehicles and even police cruisers. Police officers have testified under oath. Let me repeat that. Police officers have testified under oath that numerous tickets have been written to tow truck drivers over the last few years due to improper towing practices. Here's the thing. One entity has spent decades gutting the Virginia Code in order to set up ostensibly legal predatory towing practices just in Northern Virginia. Not in the rest of the state, just in Northern Virginia. And now increasingly, we're finding in Fredericksburg and Stafford. As it stands today, if your car is the victim of an unlawful predatory towing practice, if it is towed with your pet inside, your baby inside, if it's a police car, or a Meals on Wheels van, the victim can't sue for damages. The only person that can sue and seek restitution, injunctive relief, and attorney's fees is the Attorney General of Virginia. Let me repeat that. Individual victims are not allowed to sue. Also, under the Virginia Code, as it's been gutted for the last 20 plus years, the AG is only able to seek civil penalties up to $150 per violation. That is less than the cost paid by the victim, which is $180. So no matter what, and the victim of the unlawful tow cannot collect the recovered penalty. That goes to the Virginia Literary Fund, a complete disincentive to sue, and basically impunity for towers in Northern Virginia. So, in the lawsuit from a few years ago, the offenders were found guilty on all 5 counts, but were only charged a civil penalty of $750. This is because of the limitations in the code that prevent higher penalties. So let's get this straight. Northern Virginia and the Fredericksburg-Stafford area increasingly are explicitly prevented in code from having towing ordinances that are normal practices in the rest of Virginia. They are explicitly prevented in code from having towing ordinances at the local level that are normal in the rest of the Commonwealth. Even though other areas across the Commonwealth already do it, Northern Virginia localities can't require towers during normal business hours to get a signature from the owner of a parking lot or business approving them to tow a vehicle. In Hampton Roads, for instance, not only do the towers comply with the so-called second signature local ordinance with no major issues, but it has become a common practice to get the second signature even outside normal business hours to ensure everything is done properly, efficiently, and the affected businesses are informed and engaged. This is normal everywhere else, but the state code has been gamed so much over a decade that you can't do it in Northern Virginia. So, in Northern Virginia, we also face issues with the practice of spotting that enabled the sort of smash and grab predatory practices that happen all the time. Bad actors pay individuals to monitor lots, often ones that have unclear signage, or the trucks are shared jointly among multiple businesses, and immediately summon the trucks to tow vehicles that fail to park in the correct spot. This bill takes these three issues, nominal penalties that do not deter bad actors, second signatures allowed in the rest of Virginia but barred in Northern Virginia, and spotting head on. Under the substitute, in consultation with some towers and advocates and local businesses, as well as community leaders and local governments, we would do three things, and just these three things with this new substitute language. We would remove the carve-out that prevents Northern Virginia from requiring towers during normal business hours to get a second signature from the owner of the lot or their representative prior to towing a car. We would also allow Northern Virginia localities, if they so chose, to regulate monitoring practices. And finally, the bill increases the penalty, that the Attorney General can collect for violations. So if it's $150 per tow, you can do up to 10 times, $1,500, the amount charged for the tow, and allow the money collected to go finally to the victim of the unlawful tow and not the Virginia Literary Fund. We believe this provides sufficient penalty to deter bad actors. These changes are relatively small, but we believe that normalizing penalties for violations by bad actors and finally giving localities in Northern Virginia the same powers that localities have in other parts of the Commonwealth will be a critical step towards reestablishing a well-functioning trespass towing system where valid complaints are finally rare. So thank you for your time, Madam Chair, and I look forward to the committee's questions.
Are there any questions from the subcommittee? Seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in support of the bill?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Eric Fly, Hampton Roads Towing Alliance. We represent the towing companies in Norfolk and Virginia Beach. We currently operate under the policy in which the delegate explained, where we have to get second signatures. So it's no change for us. And we support the bill because it allows, the state's not mandating this to us. It allows the localities to develop an ordinance that they think is best for their locality. And we believe that the towing industry is best ran and operated by localities, not by the state of Virginia out of Richmond. Towing is a very regional, very spot-on thing from city to city. In Hampton Roads, where our towers are, this system works. It works very well. To give you just a quick example and not to throw mud on anybody else, this is just statistics. In the last 36 months, Arlington County had 235 complaints, not convictions, but just complaints. The city of Virginia Beach had 30. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alana Crennan on behalf of Arlington County. We support this bill. I just heard behind me people say that the data from Arlington County was not true, and it is true. So I just want to verify that. I can show you our spreadsheets if you'd like. Thank you so much.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to bill? Before we speak, there's quite a line. So again, I'm going to ask you to look at the person in front of you.
Sure.
We have 3 minutes on the clock for an opposition.
Matt Benke with the Northern Virginia Towers Association, the Richmond Towers Association. I just FOIA'd Arlington. I just FOIA'd Arlington County for 5 years of their data. They had 90,000 tows in 5 years, 90,000 tows in Arlington. They had 220 complaints. Of those complaints, 20 were found to be valid. 20. That is 0.0002. Arlington County should be given a gold star to their towers instead of attacking them on a regular basis. Arlington had Attorney General Herring attack one of their 2 towers and found guilty of almost nothing. There's absolutely no proof of any bad towing going on in Northern Virginia. The problem is in Arlington County, they have terrible parking. There's no place to park. I think everybody knows that. There's no place to park in Arlington. And Arlington doesn't build parking. And what do? They keep turning McMansions into 4 townhomes, and they don't require more towing. They've got a parking problem. They don't have a towing problem. And that's a fact.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is John O'Neill with Advanced Towing in Arlington. Delegate Lopez, when he's up here talking, he's talking about me. I own the company in Arlington that does the majority of the towing. I've been in business now for 20 years. When I went into business, there were 7 operating companies in Arlington County. I'm now the last left towing operator in the county with a storage facility. After that, vehicles can be towed from Arlington down to Lorton. That's where they're going to go if I'm gone. The Delegate Lopez, personal to him, we actually towed his vehicle twice. The last time I towed him, he parked illegally. He said he did. I was going to let him go, but he ended up paying for his fee. He said he had to. I got a 30-minute conversation between me and him outside my lot that day, begging him to sit down democratically and work the issues out. I have no issues with the police department. I've got no issues with the police department. He said my drivers are cited. None of them are cited. They actually have a license they have to get from Richmond, BTRO. If they don't get it, they can't tow cars. So you can't put any, milly-dilly in your truck and just go out and tow. It's actually a regulated process, which is really good. And I actually helped with that process years ago. I'm taking up all the time, but it's me that knows about this information, not anybody behind me. So the second signature is exactly what you protected me from, Delegate Carr, years ago. I came down here because Senator Favola said, the board in Arlington County was never going to see it my way. I need to get down here and get myself some protection, and that's what I did. Delegate McQuinn is still here. She actually supported me in all that effort. It was 2017 was that fight, and it was a hell of a fight. And at the end of the day, it was seen our way. And I appreciate all the stuff that Delegate Lopez is trying to do, but it'd be a lot more served better if it was tabled and sat down with me and worked this out democratically like I tried years ago. There's a 30-minute conversation, like I said, between him, begging him to
Madam Chair, if you can keep your comments to the committee, not to the patron.
Yes, Madam Chair, I apologize. I've been on a few of these, but I'm not.
Yeah, just call your comments to the chair.
Yes, ma'am. I could go on and on. I'll leave it there. There's a lot.
Thank you. So everyone else in line, you first 2 folks took up all the time. If you could just state your name, your organization, and that you oppose the bill.
My name is Ashley Miller with Dominion Towing in Northern Virginia. We 100% oppose the bill. There's no problems. And actually, people have been sued. Tow companies have been sued. And the people who, if the judge finds that the tow is invalid, they have gotten their money back. So I'm not sure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michael Croak. I'm the owner of Shanks Towing South in Richmond, Virginia. Regarding what Delegate Lopez was saying about lawsuits, he's either lying or ignorant of how...
If you could, keep your comments to the bill.
Okay. So I fully oppose this bill because it's not based in fact.
Thank you.
Heather Ferguson, Dominion Towing, and I oppose the bill.
Thank you.
Zachary White, Shanks Towing South. I oppose the bill.
Casey Boatwright with Shanks Towing South and the Richmond Towing Association, and I oppose this bill.
Stacy Manson, Dominion Wrecker Service. I also oppose the bill. Thank you.
Gina Mullins, Advanced Towing, Arlington, Virginia. I also oppose this bill.
Janae Robinson, owner of JNR Towing and Recovery. I oppose the bill.
Thank you. And so I just want to put a reminder here for folks that come and testify in person. Your comments are directed to the bill, to the subcommittee, not to the patron. That kind of behavior is unacceptable, and it will not be tolerated. Okay? So as a reminder, as we move forward, if you come up here to testify again, this is just to let you know all of your comments are directed towards the piece of legislation or the subcommittee. And Delegate Lopez, I thank you for your patience with the testimony that was just heard. Is there anyone online? Okay, so I have a couple questions from the subcommittee. Delegate McClure.
Madam Chair, I have a motion at the appropriate time.
Okay. Thank you. Delegate Sewell. Delegate McClure.
Madam Chair, speaking to the bill first, I truly thank the patron for bringing this forward. This is a common sense consumer protection measure. And again, I thank the patron, and I move that we report with substitute.
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded to move House Bill 959 with the substitute. The clerk will open the rolls.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Would you like to have a last word before we go?
No, I think that's the last word.
I believe so, too. Thank you, Delegate Lopez. Next up, we have House Bill 421. Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 421, and I just want to, if you permit me, Madam Chair, to make a statement first, and then I will move forward in terms of the House bill.
Do you have a substitute?
I would move the substitute.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the substitute? Or
the substitute would just be establishing or asking to remove in the bill about the establishing of an advisory committee. Advisory committee.
Committee operates by motion.
So I move that. Yes.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed. Delegate McQuinn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the committee, I've sat down and I've listened to a lot this afternoon, and I wanted us to just hear this for a moment, and I'm going to be very brief. But we have in the society that we live in, capitalistic society, we got bad towers, we have bad morticians, we have bad doctors, we have bad nurses, we have bad politicians, and just sometimes rather challenging people that live in our communities. But we also have great towers and politicians and doctors and those individuals that are very much make up our community and helping our community to move in the right direction. The General Assembly has an obligation or a responsibility to regulate many industries. And however, there is, one industry we set rate for in our code, and that is towing. But we have a problem in this industry. And I don't think we have piecemealed it. And we have got to find a way to address this whole issue of towing holistically. It's been piecemealed. I met a lot of towers a few years ago, and I really began to talk with them to understand them better in terms of what they are dealing with. These are the same folks who, many of them are a part of our communities. They have families that need to be fed. They have, gas that needs to go into the trucks that they have salaries, they have insurance, all of those things that we have to deal with daily in life, they too. But we have created a situation right here at the General Assembly just that refuse to look at this holistically and address it. And if I say anything today, I hope that you all will hear me in terms of how imperative it is for us to begin to address this particular issue. So, Madam Chair, with that in mind, I mean, again, a lot's been said. It's very complex, extremely complex. But with that being said, in terms of House Bill 421, I ask that it be stricken. And I move that it be stricken.
Thank you for your request. The committee operates by motion.
So moved, following the patron's request.
The clerk will open the rolls. It is moving properly. And on a vote of 8-0, House Bill 421 has been stricken from the docket.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
The next bill we will take up is House Bill 1287. Delegate McClure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, HB 1287 is a technical change providing a much-needed fix for local governments. Because of the Dillon rule, local governments need permissive, explicit authority by the General Assembly to be able to pass an ordinance. This bill clarifies that localities in Planning District 8 have parity with localities across the Commonwealth to pass ordinances around permitting towers. This change will clarify that a locality may pass an ordinance to permit a tower that both tows and stores in their jurisdiction. It does not alter or change the ability of any other locality not in Planning District 8 across the Commonwealth to pass ordinances around permitting in their locality. With many local considerations, towing is ultimately a local issue that should be handled within the community. HB 1287 would allow for this process to take place. According to current law, prior to adopting or amending any local ordinance related to permitting, the county board shall appoint a local trespass towing advisory board to advise the governing body with regard to the appropriate provisions of the ordinance. Arlington's Trespass Towing Advisory Board passed a resolution to support changing their ordinance to permit towers who tow and store within Arlington County should authority be granted by the General Assembly. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, I hope that you will support this bill and bring parity to Planning District 8. And Caitlin Thomas, the staff liaison to the Arlington Trespass Towing Advisory Board, is here to answer any technical questions with regard to this bill.
Okay. Delegate Wiley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for the patron.
Delegate Wiley.
Thank you. I guess where I'm trying to just delineate is the purpose of how this bill was originated to put together this type of regulation. I know that, Planning District 8 is the hotbed for towing. That's my first question, and kind of, if I may, Madam Chair, alluding to what Mr. Banker mentioned earlier about the FOIA information, I'm trying to delineate how this got started and where we are now. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I thank the delegate for that question, and we can have some folks speak and elaborate on that particular intent. But as it was mentioned, that FOIA document that I received actually from Mr. Bank, I looked through it myself. There were some valid concerns, but as it is now, the localities within Planning District 8, specifically within my locality, does not have the authority to do anything about those valid complaints. And they can elaborate more on that and give more to the technical portions of this bill.
Any further questions from the subcommittee? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor to the bill?
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Alana Crennan with Arlington County. Our county attorney is actually online right now to answer some of the technical questions that you have. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Elizabeth Parker with Troutman Pepper, speaking tonight on behalf of Loudoun County. We support the bill. I'm also authorized to share that the City of Alexandria supports this legislation as well.
Madam Chair, James Hutzer, Virginia Association of Counties. We support Arlington's efforts with the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Noel Dominguez with Fairfax County. We also support the bill. Thank you.
Apologies, Madam Chair, left off one. City of Falls Church also supports the bill.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the bill?
Matt Benke with the Northern Virginia Towing Association, the Richmond Towing Association. I like to repeat the FOIA statistics that I just got from Arlington. 5 years of data. Over 5 years, there were 90,000 tows in Arlington. There were 220 complaints, and there were 20 found to be valid. Those that were found to be valid should be handled by the police department. That is their responsibility to issue tickets. That is the way they resolve these things. You can also send it to the Consumer Affairs Division within the county. You can send it to the Attorney General. There are tons of places to send it. I will tell you that this legislation is incredibly disappointing to me. It took me over a year with several attorneys to draft the regulations related to the Board of Towing and Recovery Operators, which spelled out exactly what you're going to do in this regulation. Who are you going to regulate? The tower, the driver, the operator, the yard? There's a huge amount of things within a business that you can regulate. What you're doing in this bill would be potentially to carte blanche, give a locality, all localities in Planning District 8, the ability to do whatever they want with a permit, despite the Dillon rule. So we could have some of our members who operate in 4 or 5 localities are going to have to deal with 4 or 5 different sets of rules. And that's not right. And I'll just go back to the basics. This is not how to regulate an industry. The way you regulate an industry is with that industry, not against them. And that's exactly what's happening here.
Gina Mullins, Advanced Towing. I oppose this bill because we haven't had the question answered, what's the permit for? What does it allow? What does it not allow? Who can revoke it? What can it be revoked for? How long is the appeal process? How long do we have to wait for a paycheck? Because we still don't know who has revoked or suspended our permit. So for those reasons, I oppose this bill.
John O'Neill with Advanced Towing. Earlier, you heard some testimony about the Attorney General. The Attorney General received 13 complaints from me from Arlington County over a 5-year period. The Attorney General came after me for not having aggregate authority to tow vehicles from one certain property. Arlington County had already investigated these complaints and found me, by their own hack inspector, their own detective, not guilty. Well, they sent it to the AG, trying to get the AG to come after me, and they did. They offered me a $13,000 bribe to pay those fees off, or I could risk hell and they'd climb up my tail with a microscope. Exactly what you said.
Mr. John?
Yeah?
Can you speak to the bill?
Yeah. And so, anyway, at the end of the day, I've found a $750 fine. I've found a no guilt at all. My client we had always had a contract with them over 20 years. Said we had done nothing wrong and never had an illegal tow whatsoever. If I had known the fix was going to be in, I'd have just stayed home. I spent a lot of time here. I came here and fight for my employees, not for me. I could sell my land and go on and be probably fine in my life, but my employees are why I'm here.
Thank you. So here's what I've realized, and I'm going to express my privilege as a chair, right? And I'm going to go on record for my substandard performance in stopping the berating of Delegate Lopez. I'm going to exercise this privilege again to say, we operate under decorum here. And unfortunately, Mr. John, I have to say that directly to you. Right? I understand we are very passionate. Everyone here comes to these meetings with a level of passion for their subject, but there is an expectation of professionalism and respect. So I'm going to express it again. We hold in our hands that it matters, whatever you came here for, and that you took the time to be here. We are grateful, but we will operate under the guise of respect and decorum. And online, what we have are two folks online, Miss Kaur, I believe.
Yes, I'm sorry, I can't figure out a way to get my camera to work. But good evening, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. My name is Minchao Kaur, and I'm the county attorney for Arlington County. I'm here to ask you to support HB 1287 because as county attorney, I believe that the code is currently unclear on Planning District 8's ability to pass an ordinance that allows for a permitting system for towers who tow and store in the same locality. That's the crux of this bill. It's not about the details of permitting. It's only about towers who tow and store in the same locality. Under the rules of statutory construction, the more specific trumps the general, and the specificity of the provisions in Section D could be read to preclude localities in Planning District 8 from exercising all the general authorities granted to localities outside Planning District 8. All we're asking for is to be treated the same as the rest of the Commonwealth. The technical amendments here will clarify the code, resolve ambiguities, and bring Planning District 8 to the same standards as the rest of the Commonwealth. We also already have a permit system for scooters and taxis, and so implementation of a permit system is not unusual or burdensome. We thank the patron for working so hard on this legislation and for bringing all sides together for the conversations. Thank you.
All right, we have Ms. Caitlin Thomas.
Hello, I am the staff coordinator for the Trespass Towing Advisory Board, and I'm here to field any questions you all might have.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Are there any other? Sorry.
Madam Chair, if I may, the question I asked earlier to the patron, if that
Just
person
Delegate
on the
Wiley.
phone can answer those questions, I'd appreciate it.
Delegate Wiley, do you mind repeating the question for Ms. Thomas? There's a question directly for you online.
So, Ms. Thomas, thank you, and I will be steering this question back to the chair, is that I was asking the premise of this, this bill, how did this originate? And secondly, based on Mr. Banka's testifying regarding the foiable information, if you could answer to the effect of what those questions were, I'd appreciate if you can give us some direction on your end. Thank you.
Yes, so this originated when the county was interested in pursuing a permitting system for all towers, because currently we are allowed to permit the towers that store outside the county and tow within our county. And so we want to have an equitable permitting system. And we were advised by our attorney that this current code does not allow us to permit all towers. So that is where that came from. And then regarding Mr. Banka's data, just want to make sure I understand, are you asking me to confirm that it's correct?
Yes, ma'am, or if you can speak to that foible information in terms of the offenses and, I mean, the statistics he just spoke to us about, Madam Chair, is, it doesn't seem like it's a problem based on the statistics, and I want to see if you can verify that information. Thank you.
Okay, no, I understand. I would say his numbers are generally right. My numbers say there were 235 complaints filed in the past 5 years, and 24 have been closed and found to be valid, which means in violation of code. However, there are approximately 30 to 40% still outstanding that have not been worked. But, and the 90,000 number sounds about right. I don't have that in front of me because we do about 10 to 15,000 tows per year. But I understand that those 24 tows found to be invalid or illegal is a small number. But those 24 incidences, those 24 people have no way of getting their money back. When the police determine that it is an invalid tow, there's no recourse. The constituent is told that it's invalid and it goes on the record, and the Attorney General can use it however they feel, and there's no way for the constituent to get their money back. So it all intertwines, and we're just hoping to install a permitting system for consumer protections.
Ms. Thomas, question. I think I just heard you say, and just for clarity as we get ready to vote on this bill, you all have the ability to permit people that tow in your locality, but take vehicles outside, but you don't have the ability to permit people that tow within the locality and store within the locality. Is that, did I understand that correct?
Exactly. Oh, and one thing, Min Chao, I think, was dropped off this. If we could bring her back on, just in case we need her, our attorney. But yes, you are correct. It's very technical in that we just want to permit all towers equitably, regardless of where they store their cars. Because right now the county can impose a permit on all of our other towers. All of our towers that store outside the county, we have the ability to do that right now. But anyone that stores inside and tows inside the county is not permitted. We're not able to permit them. So we're just hoping to permit all towers, have the ability to permit everyone regardless of their actual storage lot.
Are there any further questions or comments from the subcommittee? Okay. Seeing none, the committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair, I move to report.
Second. It has been moved and properly second to report House Bill 1287. The clerk will open the rolls. The clerk will close the rolls, and it looks like House Bill 1287 reports on a vote of 5-3. Thank you, Delegate McClure. Next, we have House Bill 1073. Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move the amendments.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Delegate Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. HB 1073 protects citizens from possible predatory towing. Localities have established contracts of public safety towing rotation lists that they use to assist citizens who've been in an accident or whose vehicles have become disabled. They are limited in what they can charge. Those towing companies are limited in what they can charge by the locality. When a non-contracted tower approaches the driver of a wrecked or disabled vehicle, they can engage in high-pressure sales tactics and charge any rate they would like. We've seen this happen countless times across the Commonwealth, and the price charged is always higher than the set public safety rate. My bill prohibits towers from soliciting stranded drivers if law enforcement has already requested a public safety tow, which would be understood to be the case if law enforcement was present at the scene. It does not prohibit towers from offering services to drivers if law enforcement has not arrived. For instance, if somebody's stuck out in the middle of the country some evening. Melvin Lawson is here from Siebert's Towing to further explain the bill for you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, my name is Melvin Lawson. I'm the president of Siebert's Towing here in Richmond. I think Delegate Carr did a great job explaining the bill. Let me just give you one quick anecdote. A few years ago, a lady came into our property. Her vehicle with a police officer, her vehicle had been towed about 2:30 in the morning. Actually, somebody else was driving the vehicle. When she got there to find out what was going on, to kind of assess the situation, another towing company had come by and offered to help, right? The savior, they're going to rescue the situation. This person was broken down in the middle of the night. This owner of the vehicle did not want that vehicle to be towed by this particular company. I don't know if she had AAA, if she had another resource, but she did not want them to tow the car. That towing company would not put that vehicle back on the ground. They would not transport it to her home unless they paid her $300. At the time I was told that story, I'm a public safety tower. The bill for public safety towing of a disabled vehicle at that time was $85. They wouldn't even put the car back on the ground for $300. So I fully support this bill as designed to protect consumers from predatory towing. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the subcommittee? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Zach Lemaster with Gentry Law Consulting here on behalf of the Virginia Association of Professional Tow Operators, that's VAPTO, and we support the bill.
Matt Benke with the Richmond and Nova Association. This is a great bill, and really on the public, not only on the money side, but the public safety side. When you have a tower that's on the side of the road that shouldn't be there and another one's coming, you create a lot of problems. So just for the public safety reasons only, you should vote for this bill.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the bill? They left. They were done as much as we were. Hearing that, the committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'll take it.
Go for it. Madam Chair, I move to report with amendment.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second to report House Bill 1073 with amendments. The clerk will open the rolls. And House Bill 10, the clerk will close the rolls. House Bill 1073 reports on a vote of, I believe, 7-0. 7-0, maybe 8-0. 8-0. That's it, maybe 8-0. Copy. So that almost completes our docket. If you are into administrative action, you can stay. We have one administrative action to take here on House Bill 662. We would like to, there we go, carry that one over with the letter. I would entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed? All right, it has been carried over. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting and express gratitude for those of you who hung on with us to the end here on a Friday. Second, the meeting has been adjourned. Thank you. I appreciate you.